Where do you control this with an app on your phone?
I don't know. We'll see if we can make it work. For the first one, we'll see. Okay. So that's now going. Okay, got it. Dismiss. Okay, perfect. So that's not on YouTube. Okay, so copy. Then, hey, I still got 5 minutes. Leslie, David, Mark. Hey. Send. Okay, that should be. Make sure that's working. Okay, no chat. Perfect. Okay, that's working. Okay. That's working. Where's it? Oops. No, I need to.
Which side did you want the tape on?
Well, we don't have that long of a cable, but if I could just have something like here.
Yeah, I got like a bar table that I was gonna put like a.
That works. Okay, but oh wait. Okay, now I got to figure out. Meeting Al Pro. So Sid, can you hear me? Sid, can you hear me? Okay, you're still muted. I can't hear you.
Somehow it does.
Sid, can you talk again? Because I can't hear you. I can't. No, it's not coming through. Okay.
How can we help?
How's that?
Wait, say again, something?
Is that better?
That's perfect.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna mute
Okay.
again, but
Everybody wants to go ahead and take a seat. I am right on time. So we're good. I think Candace is going to sit there for minutes.
Okay.
This is my new toy that we just got, this camera. So, but it'll do 360 and direct. But I don't think. There we go.
I said. Do you want to sit down there with
I want to see the screen.
Okay, can I sit down? I'm not gonna lie.
Sorry.
That's fine.
I know we're out of here too, but
I wanted to
like
sit
on
here,
your
but I
timeline,
didn't
so
want
I
to.
know when, about what time.
It'll take somebody
else's.
We are going to break for lunch at noon. So if you want to do, it depends on how early you get the order. So
Yeah, I probably just need to do it about 30 minutes earlier, so
Okay.
I guess if you want, so that way I'm not interrupting, just kind of each person circle what it is that they want, or if there's an appetizer that anybody wants, so that way and I'll come and get that about 11:15, so that way, all the logistics are taken care of.
Okay, perfect. Candace is coming with board votes.
It works.
Okay, thank you all for being here. And Sid, thank you for being here at a distance. Hopefully you can see me. So this is our first meeting of the TTU K-12 Advisory Board meeting. It's been a long time coming. It's been 3 years, well, 2 years coming, I think, is when we first started negotiating for this. Couple of logistical things. This is a state advisory board, so we are live on YouTube, so the public can view it. There is the ability for public to comment and make comments and things like that. We are an open meeting. Thanks to the governor's proclamation at the beginning of COVID, we can do advisory boards remotely and in person. Subsequent meetings will probably be remote, but we'll have that discussion as we need to. We anticipate meeting quarterly for the group. So what do you think?
I'll go first. Yeah, I'll go back.
Oh, I didn't hear. She's got it. So we'll do that. All of the materials, there will be information about the meetings, meeting minutes, all of that will be on the TTU K-12 website. Those of you coming out of K-12 education, just like a school board meeting, although we are not called a school board. That Ryder Smith, who is with the Office of General Counsel with Texas Tech, is probably watching it via Zoom right now or via YouTube right now. He is our in-house counsel that will help us through open meetings. To get us started, like I said, Candace is bringing printed copies of the board book with the agenda. But we can start with just introductions. I know a couple people in here know each other, but or know others, but it's probably good for us all to do a quick introduction. So I'm Justin Louder, and I serve as Associate Vice Provost for e-learning at Texas Tech, and also have the privilege of serving as the interim superintendent for the TTU K-12 program. We will just start to my left. If you'll introduce yourself, and if you're actually an advisory board member, or if you're a TTU K-12 staff, just to differentiate from that. So.
My name is Noel Butler. I'm Associate Superintendent for Local Class B, and I'm an advisory board member.
Margaret Lampasy, I am a retired special education director from Region 15 in San Angelo. And I'm Kayla Morrison, I'm the superintendent at Lorenzo ISD, which is east of here, and also.
I'm Lisa Leach, I'm staff. I'm the Senior Director of e-learning. I do instructional design and curriculum. So I work on the university side with online programs, and then I work with the academic team.
I'm Melanie Hart. I'm Vice Provost for e-learning and academic partnerships. And so the TTU K-12 falls under my
Very hard.
which I didn't have this morning for the rain.
I'm Stacy Hobbs, and I'm a psychiatric nurse practitioner and I'm working.
And I'm Carrie Sully, and I'm Senior Director of Operations for e-learning and TTU K-12.
I'm Natasha Newman. I'm one of the assistant principals for K-12.
And I'm Braxton Allison. I'm the other assistant principal for K-12.
Carrie Moy, and I'm the principal for TTU.
And Sid?
It's nice to meet all of you. I'm Sid Sexton, Director of Educational Services for Region 17 and a board member.
And Sid is coming in on her vacation, so
Yes,
So-
thank you for letting me be the obnoxious one who had to Zoom. I apologize, but thank you so much.
well, no, we thank you for coming in on your vacation, because didn't you say you were in Santa Fe? So it's probably
Yes.
much nicer there than. So, again, thank you all. A couple of things, just for the board members and the TTU K-12 staff. We've got Ms. Hobbs, who is the parent of a K-12 student, or former student, right? Former student. So the State Board of Education's on their rules, they left it up to the schools, TTU K-12 and UT High School, on who we wanted on the advisory board. Internally, we wanted either a current parent or a former parent, or a graduate, kind of one of those three boxes. Somebody within local districts, because we want to be seen as a partner with the local district. Somebody from the service center, and then someone with special ed background. I'll also say Margaret was not my first boss, but one of mine. When I was in college, I worked for the Educational Service Center, Region 15 there, and I worked with Margaret for a couple of years. So known her for a long time. And Doyle is here as the local district to help us there. Of course, Texas Tech has lots of partnerships with LISD, and so again, as part of a local district. So this first portion of the meeting is supposed to be for public comment and open record. We did not have anyone submit any public comment. We didn't think we would, but still had to have that as an option. So if does everybody have water, tea, whatever you need, you're good. And so, sorry, I'm trying to find my agenda so we can move forward. Please talk amongst yourselves.
You feeling the pressure?
Awkward time.
Yeah, awkward silence here. So,
So awkward.
yeah.
I mean, meetings.
All
Meetings.
Every time.
That's true. There are always some awkward times.
It should be.
Yes. But the Chancellor Suite is very nice.
It is.
Thank you.
We will not be able to type up at every meeting because I don't have that kind of budget. But for the first one. Okay. All right, so we have, I guess, going down the agenda, we will call the order, and so our next thing is our TTU K-12 overview. And I know that Dr. Leach was working on that. The PowerPoint that you emailed me, is that the final version?
It's the final version until you were going to make changes. So
I-
if you didn't make any changes.
I didn't make the changes because it's a final version. So, so give me a second. I'll pull it up on my laptop so we can share it with this, and then we'll go.
Anytime we'll talk amongst ourselves.
Talk amongst yourselves.
Answer works.
Yeah.
I mean, one or two, but
So we're jealous.
Yes, we can hear there.
yeah, you're good there.
No, never,
You should do
never.
that.
It's one It's one of the things that the state board said that you'll have to do, so. There's, the rule complaint has been
Okay.
very So yeah, she had
Okay. Oh, yeah, so,
the things that they came up with, which I'm not gonna read them, but they're there, so.
Well, you need to do it anyway.
Yeah. The biggest. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
The biggest issue, the biggest kind of sticking point was that they really. We have no geographic boundaries. We don't have a tax. We have regions that separates us. So it was kind of an interesting discussion. So you are at the deep end.
Sid, can you see that? Is that coming through? Okay.
How many distance learning programs like Texas Tech's exist in Texas too?
UT High School and TTU.
So there, okay, so this is, I don't know if we didn't jump in there.
No, we always kind of been lumped together, and then last year, they created a chapter of the Texas Administrative Code
Okay.
specifically for this. So we have our own. little-
CFCC.
No. It's pretty, very small. It's pretty small.
Some legal?
No, ours is kind of a word. Texas Administrative Code.
Yours, but our chapter will be in your package just when Kim gets here. I think it's 3 pages.
Yeah.
It's not much.
And you guys contract with Texas Association of School Boards for policy?
We are
and
going.
procedures?
Yeah, so that's gonna be an interesting thing because we are a true state agency, so we have to work through the logistics of that, because officially, state agencies can't lobby, and we can't, it's government relations, and so we have to kind of work through those rules. Some of that is some of the concern with them developing a separate statute for us, is that it could be in conflict with Texas Administrative Code for higher education, which we follow. So it was quite a bit of work back and forth trying to figure that out. So we've been a member of the Texas Association of School Boards, and we've been a member of what's the other one? School administrators, but it's not like an active membership just because of the legal things there. So we'll have to work through that. So, do you want to talk and I do the slides, or will that work?
If that's what you want me to do.
That will work.
Okay.
You may need to talk, so just so she'll hear you.
Okay, and Sid, if you have trouble hearing us, just holler.
Will do. Thank you.
Okay, so this is the agenda that we wanted to run through with you. Giving you an overview of the program and then talking about our goals, our students, the programs that we offer, our curriculum, how our courses are developed, kind of the different role that our teachers have from traditional teachers. Talk a little bit about our international partnerships, improvements that we have made recently and that are planned, what the advisory board responsibilities and statutes are, and then our ongoing accreditation process with the online accreditation group called COPI. Just a little bit of background. We are part of Texas Tech. So we are Texas Tech's public online school. I should have brought my glasses. Let's see. Oops, sorry. Wrong direction. So you all know that Texas Tech is larger than 45 we serve a region that is larger than 45 of the 50 states in the US. And so we are the primary institution of higher education for a very, very large area. We have our med school, our law school. We will have our vet school here, so it's a very comprehensive university. I know y'all know that. We currently have over 40,000 students at the university, and e-learning and academic partnerships is a division of the provost office, and we, TTU K-12, are part of e-learning and academic partnerships. So that's just kind of where we are in the big umbrella. We are about the provost office, and then the e-learning and academic partnership group overseas. Our group also includes academic partnerships, which are primarily partnerships with community colleges, regional sites. So we have a number of Texas Tech University sites across the state. OLLI, which is ongoing professional development or personal development for individuals over 50, and then our continuing education division. So all of that is within e-learning and academic partnerships. So as part of our association with TAC, we have a lot of benefits. We have access to some of the university resources, and that puts us in a unique position. But we do have this collaboration about research-based best practices in online learning, instructional design, institutional research, data analytics, instructional technology, technology support, professional conferences, and thank you, content expertise. So that was our website, and
That's hard to go back, sorry.
this is our main website, and we have a lot of information on the website. The advisory board information will be a separate section of our website that we will keep up, just like you keep up your school board areas of your website too. So your bios and your photos will be there for all of the world to enjoy. Okay, you want to go ahead and click on that video? This is just an overview video that Carrie loves me to show, but I love this video. It stars Carrie and Dr. Martin.
I don't know how to work your computer.
You have to share the video.
Yeah, I gotta end one thing. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're good, because it's only a single screen.
They're still on vacation, so that's legal to that or vacation.
Sorry, Sid, we had technical difficulties.
No worries, no worries. I just knew to hang on for a bit. You're good.
Yeah. Okay, Carrie, we can't watch your video, so.
Now they'll always wonder about that.
We'll email it out.
Stop it.
We can say.
Well, it was a really good video and it kind of gave a nice overview of our program and our staff, and our students. So we could just get.
Sid, is it coming through still? Are you getting it?
Yes, I can see it. Thank you.
Okay.
It was a great try. And I'm glad. you
I have it
did.
in the laptop somewhere. This is my old.
Somewhere.
Somewhere.
So,
So yeah, so we will email you the video just because we're sending you. It is a good
It is
overview
good.
of who we are, and who we serve, and what we've accomplished over the last almost 30 years.
me, officially 20.
2030.
So this is our vision and our mission statement. I won't read them to you. Well, our vision to create a strong online academic community that provides students an excellent education anytime and anywhere. And I think you'll see that we serve students all across the world and have done so now for decades. Our mission to provide an excellent academic program that engages, challenges, and prepares students for the future. So we do try to keep our vision and mission statement kind of at the core of our work. So this is our background. This is trying to explain our very unique circumstance. We are truly unlike any other public school. We were established officially in 1993 as a special purpose district by the legislature and the State Board of Education. And at the time, they said that we were established to serve students for whom their educational needs were not met by traditional schools. So it was actually put into the legislation that established us. But we existed prior to that. We had existed from starting in the 70s as a correspondence program through the continuing education division, but we weren't established as an official public school until 93. So in 2020, Texas added the TAC 61101, identifying TTU K-12 as a special purpose school district operated by a major university. The only other school in that chapter is UT High School. Since 93, we have transitioned into a fully online program serving over 460,000 students from 71 districts. Our rigorous college-ready curriculum is K through 12. We are the only school that is allowed to do a K through 2 online program. So through Texas Virtual School Network, et cetera, they are prohibited from starting below 3rd grade. So we are the only K through 2. We are approved by the TEA and our courses are approved by NCAA. Justin, you want to read this?
Sure. So the original special purpose district that we were established in 93, there are lots of different special purpose districts throughout the state. TSBBI, Texas School for the Deaf, those are all considered special purpose districts. Some of the military high schools, and there are a number of different schools. There are some South Texas schools that are where they've consolidated a number of districts together into a special purpose district and things like that. So that is why the differentiation within Texas Administrative Code 61, special purpose district offered or operated by university. And the Administrative Code goes even further to say operated by either Texas Tech University or the University of Texas at Austin. So it is very specific to our two schools. Back to Lisa was talking about the original establishment of our program in 93. We were established before UT High School, or UT's K-12 program by about 6 years, 5 or 6 years, and then they started a K-12 program
They have since closed their K-8, and so all they are, it's a high school program offered by UT. So as Linda said, we're the only one that is full K through 12, allowing students to start, stop, and go through the curriculum kind of at their own pace.
I have my glasses on.
That's okay. We can go back and forth, by the way. So why are you here? As Lisa was talking, she told you that as part of the administrative code, we had to have an advisory board. Since '93, TTU K-12 has kind of operated on the periphery of TEA, where we did not have to submit many of the same requirements, the same scores, reports, and things like that that our traditional district would, because we did not get state funding. So since 1993, our program has been tuition-based. Students or parents pay for our courses, or our CBEs or credit by exams or courses. They can be full-time, part-time, but it is all student self-pay. We do have some partnerships with districts where the district will pay for a course, but again, we receive no state funding for K-12 operations. So that was '93 till 2019 at the last legislative session. Within House Bill 3, which they're all making faces when I say House Bill 3, that was the big education funding bill. There were 18 lines within this massive education funding bill that said the special purpose districts operated by Texas Tech University and the University of Texas at Austin could receive state funding if they wanted to. So it was 18 lines. I will be honest, we didn't know it was in the bill until it was passed. We knew that had been talked about, but we were not part of any of those discussions, and they added 18 lines into the bill. But the bill did not include a funding mechanism. It did not include any regulations. All it said was that we could get state funding if we would like to. And so that then put us on the radar with State Board of Education and TEA. And then they developed 61, Texas Administrative Code 61 for us. The interesting thing now is that administrative code we have to follow even if we don't get state funding. So if we decide not to take state funding, we still have to comply with now this education code that they have drafted for our district. So we will pretty much in between a rock and a hard place. If we took state funding, we were going to have to comply with all these rules. If we didn't, we were going to have to comply with all these rules and not have any of the resources, state resources to do so. So 18 lines within House Bill 3 and 2019 opened us up to Tier 1 funding for students in Texas, full-time students residing in the state of Texas. So as I said, the 61 now requires us to do PEMS reporting, requires us to have the district accountability reporting. We have to do more special ed than we have to have
All special services.
Special services and things like that. We have to have a homeless liaison, financial rating, and the interesting thing, trying to figure out how we're going to do it, we have to have a truancy policy and a truancy officer, which is going to be interesting for a statewide program, statewide virtual program on how you do that.
That goes later.
Yeah, so
Exactly.
we have to do all of those things.
It is.
So for the past 2 years, Lisa, Carrie, and I, and Dr. Hart have been working with TEA, the State Board of Education, and our colleagues at ET High School to figure all of this out. We have not figured all of this out, but we have decided to go ahead and take state funding and open up our program to students that really we have never served before because we've always been tuition based. So
So it's based upon enrollment.
it's based upon enrollment. It is based another weird thing is that our funding is, although we are not part of the Texas Virtual School Network, our funding is tied to VSN and the completion model, which we can talk about in a minute, which is problematic for us. Because since we started in '93, our students are very nomadic. And they may start with us, go back to a local district, come back to us, go to UT High School. Then they may decide to go to Connections Academy and then back and forth. And at some point through all of that, they will finish a course. But the way the Ascend model and the way we will be funded is they have to finish the course with us for us to get funded. So it puts a little more pressure on our program to make sure the students can complete with us so that we did try within this last legislative session to get a modified funding model in place. It was part of the virtual education bill that died at the end of the session because it came up after the voting rights. So it has been proposed or it has been submitted again for the special session, but again, it's after voting rights. So until they tackle the election bills and things like that, it won't be heard. So that's kind of where we are.
So we have an accountability rating, et cetera, like record districts.
We will.
Is we under the alternative education accountability model, or we?
Yes,
Yes, and yes.
there's lots of questions that
Okay.
nobody has.
And just, as I'm saying, just listening, it's like we're creating school district.
Yeah.
School district.
And so that's pretty much exactly what they did, and
It's,
created the advisory board to kind of make all that up as we go along. With kind of understanding that they don't have all the answers. There are some parameters that they've given us, but a lot is going to have to be determined here.
And the thing that we have always prided ourselves on is that we've always been a partner with the local districts and want to continue to be a partner with the local districts. And so a number of these things are putting us in conflict with some of that. But like I said, we really at the end of the day, we were forced into this because we're going to have to do all of this regardless. And so we might as well get the resources.
that's like you guys are partners. I mean, local capacity, we need y'all because we all depend on each other. We all have a niche that we serve. That's the way I feel.
And that's kind of what we think. And if this last year and a half has taught us anything, is that virtual education works for some students. It does not work for others. You know, that's where we think we will fit is back to our original charge in '93 to serve students that are not being served in the traditional classroom. And so we feel that is still where we are to our local district partners, and that we don't want to be a massive school district. We are not looking for hundreds of thousands of kids. We have some growth goals that keeps us at a very small level or a small population, and that's what we think we can serve.
Just the bottom of that slide, I think.
Okay. So, so starting in August of 2020, when we get state funding, we will have 2021, sorry, whatever. We will have 4 distinct programs for students. We will have a state funded program, which is for full-time Texas resident students. And the state board was very clear on that. It is Texas resident students. That any student that is in a military family that may be a Texas resident but now is stationed outside of the state, they cannot qualify for the program. So that is another area that we were negotiating in the virtual ed bill that would allow us to serve Texas military students that are outside the state. That didn't pass. Military students have to be within the state. And they have to maintain a residence in the state of Texas to qualify for our program. They do not have to be a citizen, of course, but they do have to maintain a residence within the state. We will continue our tuition-based program. The state board and TEA, in all of our negotiations, when we started, they said 100% of your Texas students had to go into this tuition program, or tuition, state funding-based program, out of your tuition-based program. But in negotiations, we did get permission to allow students to opt out. So any of our current TTU K-12 students that are living in Texas that would like to opt out and continue to pay tuition, they can. And we will continue with our tuition-based program outside of Texas and internationally. We will continue our part-time program that allows students to make up lost credits or get ahead in credits, transfer those back to their local districts. And our CBE program, which is our credit by exam program that we offer, and many local districts and districts around the state utilize that for their students. And then, as I said, we'll continue our tuition-based program for our international partners, which is a dual diploma program where students receive both the Texas high school diploma and the diploma in their home country. So those will be our 4 programs moving forward. We will only have to do, all the fee supporting and things like that in our state-funded tuition-free program in Texas. But all of our students will continue to take in the course exams, STAR exams, and things like that. Questions?
I'm learning acronyms, so.
It's alphabet soup.
It's alphabet soup. So I'm kind of aside. My mom was a 35-year educator. She cracks up at this now because I always said I was not going to work in K-12 because I knew what she had to do with. And now she laughs because I oversee a great K-12 program and have learned all the acronyms and what they all mean and work through this. So you'll have to tell mom. Alphabet soup and all
So
this.
Dr. Robert, how do you determine which students, do they apply to get into your program?
So yes, we all the fun of this. So our current students that are in our program right now, they received an email a week ago from us saying that we are moving to this model, and they could opt out and stay in a self-pay model or move to the free tuition model with the state. And so we gave them a week to do that. New students will be selected through a lottery system. So today, our lottery application opens and ads will appear in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex in South Texas and in the local area announcing that we have the program. That is another requirement the state board put on us, is that they said we had to advertise, and we had to advertise in areas that we had not served much before, because they did not want us to just keep the kids we've always had and not let anybody else into our program. So they were very clear on that. And so we picked the Dallas-Fort Worth area and South Texas because although we get a lot of students from DFW now, they are upper socioeconomic. And so we decided to do larger advertising in there. South Texas, we don't receive many students at all. And then in the local area, again, we don't receive many students full-time there, but it was a part of the state board's requirements. It actually was a bit testy when they got to that point because they were very concerned that we were just going to serve upper socioeconomic and students that we have done up to this point. And so that was majority of one of our state board meetings is talking about how we would advertise. So We have a lottery system now. Students will submit in an application. They have to submit proof of Texas residency. They have to submit current transcripts so we know where, what grade that they would go into. They will go into a lottery system, and then the first part of August, we will have our lottery drawing for new students. And we'll start the school year that way, and then we will continue with the lottery a couple of times a year to fill up any openings that we may have.
What's that number?
Well, we have put.
Sorry.
No, that's a great question. So we have decided our cap for year one is 1,500 students. We served about 1,400 last year at the peak of the pandemic. And then now we're down about 1,100 or so. And so we think we can serve about 400 more with our current staffing, which is about what we were pre-pandemic.
And that's tuition and.
That is state-based, state funded, 1,400 that way. Full-time enrollment. We don't think we will have more than about 200 tuition paying students within the United States. And that is separate from our international program because they have their own teachers that we use in so I think of that. So about 400 is what we decided we could serve new right now.
We have to have a program that you have to serve kiddos.
Do you have a percentage like that you'll have to take special ed or anything like that?
We don't have to do that. One of the things with special ed is, again, in lots of conversations with TEA and state board, there are certain things that a virtual program cannot do for a special ed student. And we have no physical presence anywhere. So there are certain things and certain programs that we can't provide. So what TEA and the state board allowed us to do is that if a student with special needs comes to us with their art or 504 paperwork or things like that, it must indicate that a virtual program is the least restrictive environment for that student. Because we know it's not for some students. And so we have to work through that.
Appropriate instruction setting.
Program.
And we know that this is a restricted environment for it's, self-paced program and it won't meet the needs of all students. And we want to be able to serve them well. So we want to make sure they're in the right placement. And whether that's with us or in a traditional school, we just want to make sure that they're where they need to be.
And we do currently serve a lot of special ed kids, and they do very well. There are a lot of accommodations that we can make easily in our program that are more difficult in a face-to-face classroom. So any student who needs a screen reader, needs needs to be able to manipulate fonts, needs more time.
Seeing,
Needs to be free from distractions, that kind of thing. We have a lot of those students, and it's a good portion. It's just some needs them.
the courses are 100% accessible. So that's not, that's not an issue at all. And so many of our students are already served in that way that we can serve a lot of students that have IEPs or 504s that we're able to meet their needs. But we know that there are some students that this may not be a good fit for them. And we just need to review that ahead of time and make sure that everyone has a good understanding of what they need.
But we cannot have any enrollment criteria. So it's totally open enrollment and random selection.
So I don't make your head spin. So I have a crazy question. So will you guys have to follow House Bill 4545?
Well, kind of.
Okay, listen to that.
So we
You know what I
didn't,
mean.
we didn't report any teams last year. So we don't have a baseline that you all are functioning off of for. However, we are gonna still provide remediation services and, you know, those sorts of provisions we have to have in place, but not quite the way y'all.
So as we get to this, y'all will and see that they don't know where to put us within TEA and State Board of Ed. And so sometimes we fall, same things with the district. Sometimes we fall within charter. Sometimes we fall within BSN. Sometimes we're by ourselves. And it is, you know, all back and forth. That, you know, we're just kind of finding our way. So moving forward, I think once we get a little better handle on it, TEA, State Board get a little better handle on it, new regulations and rules will have to clearly differentiate. Is this for everybody, or is it just for traditional districts, or is it for the special purpose university districts, or what? But, so we are having a big up with TEA, State Board, and the legislature because we're
You're receiving ES funding.
And to be fair, you know, we are a tiny little drop in the bucket for TEA, and so they don't have time to look at it in detail for us. So we understand that. But as an example, we got a notification a couple of weeks ago that we had not done our special ed self-assessment for last year. So we were parking. And so we're working with the service center, and the service center finally talks to a contact that they had, said we didn't report teams last year, we didn't have state funding last year, so why did we have to do a special ed self-assessment? UT was not on the list. They didn't have to do one. So anyway, she got us off the hook. So now we don't have to do it moving forward, but you know, just those kind of, and you know, there are thousands of those little things that the reporting requirements are crazy. One thing that I want to say, and just kind of reiterate what Dr. Lauder said, is I think the pandemic did teach us that while traditional schools pivoted amazingly well, they also learned that that's not their forte. Teaching kids in classrooms, that's what you do, that's what you're built to do, that's what you should have. And turning around and being able to provide remote instruction is not something you can just easily do on the fly. So we want to be that partner that knows how to provide remote learning. We've been doing it for 30 years. We know how to.
Legislators know that too, or that bill would not.
I think that's exactly what we are.
well, and we know, kind of back to that bill, we know there were a couple of districts that were looking at starting virtual schools as part of it, which, you know, like I said, our goal is not to serve hundreds of thousands of kids. So we know we can't do that. And so, but as I said, we know that, you know, online pedagogy is very particular. So, you know, we've now seen, and we don't know what the long-term academic impact this is going to have on our kids. And so that's kind of where we're at.
I want to focus this room when I raised my hand and said low capacity was, yes, we were, but only to serve the kids inside low capacity, not a student for friendship or new, literally. Yeah.
Right. And that was part of the bill that died.
What I thought was, is like from school, like Lorenzo, we probably had 2 high school students that thrived greatly on the virtual. So it's anyway, she thrived on this, so we don't provide that for her anymore. That's what I was wondering, how would you know, how would you say, hey, you could go into this lottery here and then, that she would probably be the exception for us and somehow try to serve her because.
You know, in like in my family, I've got 2 cousins. One is 3, but one is a 7th grader. His brother is a 5th grader, 6th grader. The 7th grader is very he gets social anxiety, And so he loved virtual. His brother, who is the center of attention, hated it. It was a struggle for him, but so, you know, I mean, it works for some, it doesn't work for all. And it's not a one size fits all.
We
It's a
want
very
to,
small.
we want to be the school for those couple of students from all the different districts who.
And she's a great student.
Yeah.
She's a straight A, does whatever you ask them. So it wouldn't be like you're taking.
Yeah.
you know,
Feel free to send the information. So, like Dr. Leach and I have been saying, we serve a variety of students, and just to kind of help y'all, and Sid to kind of see who we serve. So since '93, we've served students from a variety of different backgrounds and educational needs. Students that are going to school at home. And I'm better if that I used to say homeschool, and I know that's not right, because those people get mad at you. when you do that sometimes. So students that are going to school at home, we have a number of students that are pursuing either careers in the entertainment industry, or they are professional athletes. Just an example, we had a young girl who is a figure skater and just missed the U.S. Olympic team for Winter Olympics and then last Olympic Games. We have students that are hoping to be drafted as D1 athletes, and so they're taking a lot of our classes to offset that, so they have more practice time. We have students that are musicians, entertainers. I like to tell the story. We've got 3 or 4 kids that have been on Nickelodeon shows and Disney Channel shows in the last couple of years. We have a student this year, 3rd or 4th grader, I think, that is, if you watch the show on TBS called Miracle Workers, he is one of the child actors in that show. Jesse Clements, who was in Clarinet Lights, is a graduate from our program. Leanne Rhymes took classes from us years ago, didn't finish, but it's one of our former students. So we have that. We have those students that are doing that, pursuing that. We also have students that are at MD Anderson getting cancer treatment and significant health issues. And so they do our program because when they feel like it, they can do classes, and when they don't, they aren't penalized for taking a break. We've had a number of students that are in residential treatment programs that have done our program again. When they feel like it, they can work through our program and having a tough time, they don't have to. Sadly, we have seen an increase in the number of students that come to us as a result of bullying or cyberbullying in their local districts. And so they come to us to get away from that. We have students living abroad, and I have a great story about a family living abroad, but I can't tell it to you while we're on Zoom because there's some legal things there, so I'll tell it to you later. They're a great family, and I use them as my example all the time until we learn a little bit about why they're living abroad. So we get a number of students that work ahead and graduate early. A few years ago, we had a boy who was 12 at the time, graduated our program with his high school diploma, and then attended Cornell. And he's probably now, 16, 17? I don't know.
He's in grad school.
He's in grad school at Cornell, doing that. So we have those children, those that need to make up or earn additional credit from local schools, where they didn't pass a class, they want to take it to get ahead. In the springtime, we see an increase in the number of students wanting to take classes to make up credit, because they, of course, want to either graduate with their peers at the local district or move ahead with their peers that way. And then we've got students that want to earn credit through mastery based testing, which is our CBE program exam. And students can test out of all subjects starting in kindergarten. We do have kindergarten CBEs, and we have some kids that want to take the kindergarten CBEs occasionally and test out of that. So really, we are serving a huge group of students that come for us for a variety of reasons. And of course, the other group that we have is also international students that we have partners with their local international school where they're doing the full diploma. Our largest international population comes out of Brazil. We've got about 1,000 kids in Brazil doing a dual diploma where they get a Texas high school diploma and a Brazil high school diploma. We have some incredible students in Haiti that are doing, with everything going on there, they do outstanding within our program. And that we have programs. We've had programs in Mexico, we've had programs in China, we've had programs in Vietnam. We're currently in talks with a school in South Korea, and Turks and Caicos, and Cancun, and Singapore with our programs. So trying to work through all of that to see what works for them. 2 years ago, Carrie and I and Lisa were negotiating with the State Department to take our program to Africa for the embassies there, so the students there. Embassies. But of course, with the administration changeover, we have not restarted those conversations. Those of you from Lubbock area that know Ambassador Tibor Naj, he is who got us connected in with the State Department. He was the former ambassador to Ethiopia and Somalia, I believe. And so that's why we have the connection to talk about taking our program into Africa. But unfortunately, like I said, with the change in administration, that is still, we think, a priority for the group, but it's not a high priority for that group. So we've been sitting here for about an hour. If we want to take about a 5-minute break or so, and while we do that break, if you will also take your menu from the tech club, and if you put your name on the top and then circle the items that you would like, we'll get that ordered. Or it's just like whatever you want. Okay.
We're paying for it.
I don't feel crazy. But yeah. So we will take about a five minute break here. And so with that, I am going to pause our YouTube and all of that.
Would you start with your Yeah. It is.
You can sit over there.
I love it.
Okay,
I'll let Rebecca let her look it up.
let's go ahead and start that. The goal is to finish the overview of the TTU K-12 program before we break for lunch. Then we'll break for lunch. And after lunch, we will go through some of the action items that we actually have to have a discussion and vote on and things like that. So, so we will go ahead and get started. Well, I'm going to run that. Okay. So we've talked through kind of who our students are, why they come to us, and things like that. We want to talk a little bit about the support services that we do provide our students. We will send a copy of this PowerPoint to all of you, so you've got a copy as well, and of course it'll be posted on the website. I'll actually let Dr. Leach and Carrie kind of walk through the student support services, because they know those much better than I do.
One thing that's important to know about our program is we are completely asynchronous. So where a lot of the virtual programs during the pandemic use Zoom and use synchronous virtual approaches, we don't. We're completely asynchronous, and so students work through our program at their own pace. And that's just a big difference with what a lot of people are used to. And so even though we are asynchronous, we do have a variety of ways that we provide support to students. And Carrie, I'll let you go through some of that.
Yes, so we do have a group of counselors and advisors that create personal graduation plans for our students, just like they would in a traditional school. We have some college readiness and career readiness programs. Our students do take end of course exams, so all of those are required to graduate.
Even in Brazil.
Even in Brazil, and even in our tuition pay program, that's a requirement. So we have a testing coordinator that handles all of that. We do provide transcripts for our students, and you may think, well, of course you do, but a lot of online schools in our world sometimes don't do that. It would be considered more of a homeschool type program, but that is not the case with us. We do follow all of the standards for creating transcripts and making sure that we provide those for our students and get those to colleges. And we upload to NCAA through their portal, just like any other school would for students who are seeking eligibility for that. And we stay in constant communication with other schools through that process as we're registering students, making sure that they know that student's enrolled with our program so that they're not considered a dropout from their previous district. We have certified teachers. So we follow all of that same process as well. All our teachers are certified from the state of Texas. And so we have different tools for our teacher communication with their students and with us. Obviously they can message through their courses, but we do have Blackboard Collaborate, which is kind of like Zoom, which our teachers can set up tutoring and office hours with their students, as well as providing feedback and then maintaining those office hours. Sorry, I'm kind of a quick talker.
No, that's good. We have a lot to get through.
And yeah, student community has been it's really important to us. And I'm sure that you probably heard some of the same feedback from students and parents when we went through the pandemic and everyone was online. Sometimes you can feel pretty isolated in an online program. And we don't want that for our students. We want for them to feel like they are part of the school community. And so we really have been working hard to meet those needs through making sure that we send out newsletters, that they know what's going on with our school and with their peers, so they don't ever see their classmates in person. So what are some of your other, what are your peers and classmates doing in their lives, and what are you doing in yours, and how do we share that information? And we have a National Honor Society and Student Council and NJHS, the National Junior Honor Society. And those have been really fun because our students can connect outside of the classroom And they really take that opportunity to use that as an environment to meet those social needs. So when we log in, sometimes the first thing we'll hear is, oh my gosh, I like your blue hair. Where did you know, what color blue is that? And so they're so excited to be able to see the other students that they've been in class with. And so that's kind of where some of that interaction's been taking place, and it's really fun. Class meetings and special topic seminars, as well as tutoring sessions. That's another time that they can also see their teacher. As I mentioned, we got Blackboard Collaborate session and see some of their other peers in their classes with them. We do hold an in-person graduation ceremony here on the campus, usually at the Marquette, but sometimes wherever we can find space is where we have it, and it's really fun. We love getting to meet our students and their parents. Sometimes that's the first time we've met them face to face. And most of them travel in from across Texas to come to the ceremony, and it's fantastic. So I hope that you can come sometime and be able to meet some of our students and their families and hear their stories, because it's very it's just impressive. We just love them. We love seeing them, and we love getting to hear. I didn't get to hear this story last time, but I guess I don't know, I saw the family and talked to them, but Lisa was telling me that one of our students, the family had told you, I guess, that she would not have graduated at all. She had a baby, and then she wouldn't have graduated at all if it hadn't been for this program. And so it's things like that that make us remember really why we do exist and why we're here and the students that we serve. And we're just honored to be a small part of their little, their educational journey in their life in general. But it's fun. And
We often have our students tell us
yes.
that they're sad that it took until graduation to meet some of their peers.
Yeah.
That now that they're finished with the
Yes.
program, now they're making those connections. And so our counselors have come up with this last idea that we're going to host some meet and greets in different cities across Texas and invite any of our students to come together personally and have that opportunity. We want them to feel connected to their school community,
Yes.
even though
they're all over the world. Yes. So it'll be fun. And our summer camps are fun. We have not had those because of the pandemic, but they'll be back up and running next summer, I believe. So our students, even if it doesn't matter where they're from, we have a large group of students from our international partnerships will come. They'll fly over here in Texas from Brazil or other partnerships and attend those camps. But our students from Texas and wherever, anyone can come. It's open to anybody. We have less attendance from our kiddos in Texas. They probably don't think camping in the heat in Junction is as fun as maybe our Brazilians might think it is. But we do invite them, and that's fun for them to get to meet other students.
and they come here on campus and
They do.
they get campus tours but
It's fun. They love Junction. I don't know if y'all ever been to the campus. Oh my gosh. It is the neatest thing. And they love it. They love it.
So when you think of,
Yeah, there you go. Yes.
when you think of summer camp, you're probably thinking, the American version, go with your, this is more of an academic summer camp.
Yes.
And so our students, so at the Junction site, they, 2 years ago, we did a program where they built boats out of cardboard. And so they learned about displacement and buoyancy and all of that. We actually had two girls that their boat, most of them went 50 yards, 100 yards. Theirs went almost a half a mile down the river in Junction, and we finally had to pull them off of the boat because they probably would have kept going. And so it was close to half a mile with that. And the kids were very excited for that. As Dr. Hart said, our Brazilian students like going to Junction because they can see stars and they are out in nature. And many of these students are from Rio and Sao Paulo and other very large metropolitan areas. And so that is their first opportunity to do that. 2 years ago, we also did kind of a cowboy cookout and s'mores. And I have never seen so many kids the kids eat so many s'mores. It was about 100 degrees at night and they still wanted a fire, so they could have s'mores because they never had it before. And so they love that and doing that. And then up here, when they come to campus, they participate most of the time with Shake Hands with Your Future, which is a program offered by the VP of Diversity's area. And so they attend classes up here as well with various faculty on campus. And then they, live in the dorms for a week and get to have fun with the lazy river and that. And then for a couple of years, they even went up to Canyon to see the show, the Texas show and do all that. So trying to give them a really great experience, especially our international kids that maybe the first time they've ever come to the United States and to do some neat things for them.
It's so fun. And it's so fun in our student programs, like National Honor Society or Student Council, that our stateside students get to interact with our international students. And so it's really fun to hear their conversations. Our Brazilian students love to talk about politics. You don't talk about politics in Brazil. We talk about politics all the time here in America. So when they say, we don't really give our opinion about anything publicly in Brazil, so they love to ask, well, how does that happen there? And well, now we think our president might be kind of like Trump, but we could never say that here to people in our school. So we have conversations with their administrators. Are these conversations okay to have? We certainly don't want to violate any type of social norm that is for their country. And like, oh yeah, that's we don't have that exchange.
Okay, you're on. Okay, so this is just a little bit more. We talked about most of this already. But our new program that, as Dr. Leiter said, is open for applications starting today. We didn't plan that. It just happened that it was the same day as our first advisory board meeting. This had been planned a longer time than our timeline for opening up for funding. That's actually happened very, very quickly. We made that decision not even 3 weeks ago. Yeah. Here we are. So as Dr. Leiter mentioned, our funding is 100% course completion. So they get all the way through, don't take their final, we don't get a penny for them. So that's going to be even more important than it already is. We are capping this first year at 1,500, as we discussed, which gives us room under the cap, we think, for around 400 new students. Our current students have the opt-out option. They received an A-blast last week. We've had almost 187 opt-outs so far. We had estimated we might get 100, so I think that was pretty close. Yeah. The tuition-free program is going to have some progress requirements. They have to finish their course in 6 months, and so we are going to nag them a lot. Yes, to get in there, whereas some of our students need more flexibility and they need to be more self-paced, and so that's their preference.
We've had several that have like families that are rodeo families. I don't know how we got this group of students, but they travel a lot, and so they were like, I don't know. We don't know if we can do a certain number of assignments each week. So they want that flexibility to still be able to travel and do their rodeo requirements. I don't know what those are, but they need that. And so that's why they opt out.
And for a lot of our elite level athletes, they have training seasons, and so they'll really double up on courses.
That makes it great.
So our emphasis again is on course completion. We have a 6-month deadline per semester course. All of our courses are semester courses. We will do very active progress monitoring. We are eliminating extensions. Our current students have always had an option to purchase an extension. We're eliminating extensions. You have 6 months to complete your course. And then, of course, we're adding our special pop services, our GT and ESL, and we have not had to do. Our other programs are still continuing. We still have our tuition paid program. We have to be careful with our Texas residents who are opting into the tuition paid program. They can't do that to skirt the law. They can't say, we didn't get in through the lottery, and so therefore we want. So we just have to be very careful. And the state board was really worried that.
So if you aren't selected, we can't send you an email saying, you didn't get in, but if you want to pay us, you can get in before that. Now, if they do that on their own and they ask, well, we didn't get in, can we? You can't, but we cannot. Leave it that way.
Yeah.
We just have to be
We
careful.
can advertise some things, but not others.
I think the main part is they cannot go to, they would have to go to the lottery if they wanted to. They would have to go to the lottery, still may not be chosen.
So, yeah, the being in the paid program, the only time being in the paid program gives them automatic admission into the tuition-free option is right now. Once we start this program, we're not guaranteed a spot in the tuition-free.
We still have our international partnerships, and we still are vetting new partners, as Dr. mentioned.
So each semester you look at this process. What about summer?
We're doing it on a 6-month basis. We had a lot of conversation about that, but we're just going on 2 6-month. Our supplemental program, where students are enrolled in other districts and just taking courses with us, will continue. But the student or the school will pay us. So another district is getting funding for the student. And then our CBE program, we have individual CBEs and we have bulk CBEs that are purchased by districts. If they have a lot of students who want to test out, usually Spanish is our big bulk subject. But we have those, the individual CBEs are online now. We use an online proctoring service. And so it used to be that to take a CBE, you had to arrange for a proctor, go to a testing site of some sort, maybe pay the proctor. And now the student can just take the CBEs whenever they're ready to take it. Because it's all final exams, and a lot of the major exams and courses are proctored so that we know who the student is who's taking it. It's important in the long run. Things that we just have to pivot with. These are things that we haven't had to do before, but we've never recorded heaps before. That was one of the things that we were going to have to do regardless of whether we accepted state funding or not. We were fortunate to find a retired English person who is working for us now, doing a fantastic job. We obviously have the need for additional staff and services. We are going to have to address, as Bill mentioned, GT, have our GT performance plan, have our GT services, et cetera, our ESL, homeless. Migrants.
That's a very nosy question.
Yeah.
I just hear it. I hear budget. Will you guys receive additional funding?
We will receive additional funding for state sped and CT. We're not doing federal at all.
So we
And
will,
the amount, so I'm gonna be a free kid, and you're gonna be a tuition paid kid. Is it the same amount of money? Okay.
so,
That one's-
yeah, I mean, it open records here. So with the tuition-based kid, our classes are about $225 a class plus some fees. It ends up being about $3,500 a year, give or take, for a tuition paid student. Tier 1 funding with TEA is $6160. a student. So we will get 6160 per student for completion for full-time kids, so almost double. We will also get the mid
Small school.
small school allotment and um, the instructional materials allotment, which was a bigger hurdle to get over than anything else. They were not going to give us the instructional materials allotment at first, which is what schools use to buy instructional materials. They didn't understand that a virtual program still provides materials. So they have not been able to tell us what we're going to get in terms of instructional materials allotment or when we will get that. As you see, item 4 on that list, textbooks. Our tuition-based program, students have to purchase their own textbooks, materials, and of course, our tuition-free or state-based funding, we will have to provide them. So it's important to know how much we're getting in the instructional material fund, so we can figure out how to get them. And most of our classes use ebooks anyway. Dr. Leach and her team have moved us away from physical textbooks as much as possible. So we are with ebooks. And we are also working on OER, which would be open education resources, free to low cost materials. So we're working through to that. So it's another thing that we have to add that we've never, well, we've had to do before. We used to have our own bookstore, but we closed that and we partnered with a third party. So now we have to work through providing the materials there.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes through, hopefully they see you guys as a startup.
They've approved us for IMA, they just can't tell us.
It was
Is only if the student completes all their courses.
So we do that front. And
Right, and if they complete 2 of their
Yeah.
5 courses, we only get.
Well, they aren't gonna give it just estimated up front, because we would have to pay that.
so, we've taught completion as a big, you have that broken down?
I did.
So we will show you, completion is a concern, but we have a fairly high completion rate now. And we'll show you that here in just a minute.
please don't want to say y'all, I mean.
No, yeah, totally get it.
Because we're here.
Yeah.
No, I get it. No, we understand.
It's all good.
This is something that you.
Nah, I would never.
Does she even have it even though you want?
Oh, wait.
Only that one time.
Yeah. I can't pretend.
So another change that we are having to make is, it says academic calendar here. It is not a true academic calendar, but we are providing students kind of an estimated calendar that to finish your course in 6 months, this is what you need to do. And it's roughly 5% of the coursework every week. And they need to work 3 of the 7 days a week at a minimum to do that. And so it's a modified academic calendar. Now, our colleagues at UT High School actually developed a true school calendar where they have a start and a stop to their school year. We didn't want to go that route, so we still wanted our students to have some flexibility. If a student completes 5% of their assignments, they will actually finish it in about 5 months, not 6. So if a student wants 2 weeks off at Christmas or a week off at Thanksgiving or spring break or a time off in the summer, they can do that by working a little faster. None of our courses can be completed in less than 30 days, and so we will not allow students to just rush through. So there is some kind of a break built into that so that they have to slow down and work through classes.
So we will be very carefully monitoring their progress to see if they're falling behind that 5%. And that will be that person's responsibility is to jump and then to contact the
20 years, so through all of this. After your help.
About our. So all of our courses are based on the we follow online best practice.
Sid, are you still there?
Yes, it had another little bobble, but I'm back.
Okay.
I said,
Hi there.
all of our courses are fully accessible, and we meet the federal standards for accessibility. And so no matter what the specific disability or need might be, we adhere very closely to accessibility standards, and that's directly university level, of course. And then copyright's important when you're online program. You gotta be very, very careful that your materials are finished. And people steal our materials all the time. There's not a
So
lot
angry about that.
we can do about it, but Carrie finds our tests constantly on other sites. But we do our best to follow it, right?
Yeah, we don't break it.
We don't break it.
Other people want our stuff.
Cheater.
But you're so good.
Yeah.
I don't think we really need to probably go through this. This is just our workflow for course development. It takes about a year. And we contract with Texas certified teachers to contract our courses. Many of the people that you know have written courses for us. But then we have a process of review and development. So we develop the courses and then we put the courses into our learning management system, which is Blackboard. And we have a review process at different steps along the way, just to make sure that the course quality is there, the rigor is there, and that it is functional in the learning management system for students so that they can move through the courses intuitively and easily.
So I always tell parents about this process when they were calling us during the pandemic. Oh, our school district online is horrible. Like, this just isn't working. I'm like, well, I can imagine it takes us a year to make a class, and we've just asked schools to put something together in 2 weeks. So I can only imagine what it's like, because this is such an in-depth process that we spend a year or more on putting our course through all of everything. And so I'm like, you can't expect in 2 weeks for that to happen. So I'm so thankful that Lisa's team takes that year and makes our courses really well.
We have a really great team of instructional designers in it, and we contract with great authors. We look for people who love to write curriculum, and not everybody loves to write curriculum. It's not their thing, but we find those people who. So we have to constantly be marrying the pedagogy and the technology, because we use technology to deliver all of our content. We have to be very, very careful that the technology works and the instructional strategies are appropriate for kids. So again, I don't think there's anything up there that I haven't already mentioned. We do regularly revise and improve our courses. We do total rewrites for our courses when the standards change, and the standards change on a cyclical basis. But we're still constantly making improvements, correcting errors if we find them, correcting broken links. That's always a big issue with an online course, is you've got links in there and then with the links have been changing. We provide professional development for our teachers. We will, of course, with state funding, have a lot more professional development requirements, and that's just going to be part of it. This is The process of course development, we start with just analyzing the course, studying the standards, planning the scope and sequence, outlining the units, and then really building those up in the course design process. So we are identifying those objectives, making sure that we have alignment between the objectives, the instruction strategies, the assessments, making sure there's opportunities for student feedback and for teacher feedback, making sure the instruction strategies are engaging. We try to do project-based learning often, just things that will cause the student to interact with the content in enriched ways. And then the last phase is putting them actually into the structure of the Blackboard system, working on navigation, making sure that students know I start here and then this is what I do next, and then this is what I do next. If you've ever taken an online course, that is not always the case with online course structure. Sometimes it's very confusing. And so we try to be just very, very deliberate about our navigational strategies. The important things, making sure that everything we do is focused on those standards, planning that alignment in the course flow. We go from point A to point Z in the learning continuum. That's another thing that school struggled with during the pandemic, as we just put kids online sometimes. We didn't always put them online from this starting point to this ending point, and really working through that continuum. So that course flow is really important. We encourage interaction. The students always have opportunities to interact with other students. Requirements for interaction with other students, that's part of online test strategies. And we make sure that those are built into every course. That could be group work, where they're working on projects with other students. Often it's in discussion boards where they're responding to peers in discussions. And you would think that that would be difficult in an asynchronous environment where kids are hitting those points in the courses at different times, but it really works out. It works out very well. We use very focused activities and assessments. So again, that alignment to the standards, making sure that our activities are teaching what's in the standard, and our assessment is assessing what was taught, which was what was in the standard. Providing for multiple learning styles so that there are lots of different ways for students to learn and process through the content, and then chunking the content into manageable pieces. We don't want to overwhelm kids. If you look at something that is just, so much reading or so much just upfront, it's easy to get discouraged. And so we chunk into very small pieces that can be do this, you're done, check. Do this, check. And it makes it much better.
Can I add something?
Yes.
Just right here.
Please.
So when I took this over about 5-6 years ago, a lot of our courses were still correspondence courses, just put online. And I just want to emphasize how much work Lisa and her team, Carrie and her team, Justin and his team have done to make this into a true online school and not an electronic correspondence course. And what you're seeing here is what has allowed that to happen, what Lisa's been talking about. They have done a phenomenal job, and we are now a true online school with high quality online courses.
So when we send this PowerPoint out, there are 2 videos that you can look at. A couple of courses, but because it didn't work this morning, I'm not going to try it again. And looking at time, I do want to get to the data piece before we break for lunch, just because we've made a big deal about the completion rates, just so you know kind of where we are going into it, and that. So just high level, a couple of systems that we utilize. So as Dr. Lee said, Blackboard is our learning management system. Texas Tech University uses it, so TTU K-12 uses it as well. There are many different learning management systems out there, but Blackboard tends to be the market leader. And that's them. Our student information system is a system called Focus, which Fort Worth ISD uses, and a couple others. We did an RFP about 3 years ago. And we ended up with Focus. There are others out there called Schoology and things like that. So if you're familiar with something different, at the end of the day, an LMS and an SIS or student information system, they do basically the same thing. We have opportunities for interaction with our students to assess our students, and then the record keeping. As Carrie mentioned, we utilize a tool called Blackboard Ultra or Collaborate Ultra, which is a synchronous-based teaching and meeting tool. It is built for synchronous instruction, where many other tools, Zoom, which is a great one, we've all used lots of Zoom this past year. It was not built solely for an academic solution. Collaborate has been, it's an academic solution at its core. So we use that for faculty office hours, the seminars that Carrie was talking about in our student organizations. We anticipate using that for tutoring sessions, supplemental instruction, things like that as we get into this the free version. There's a tool called Ally, which is an accessibility monitor. So it monitors our learning management system. And every piece of content that is added to our learning management system, it is Ally looks at it, scores it, tells us if it is accessible, and if it's not, what we need to do to make it accessible. So we know that all of our content is fully accessible.
And it provides different versions of content for students. So if they need a Braille version, there are different options the student can choose because of that.
It can pull out all formatting and just be straight text on a screen to help with screen readers and other things like that. We utilize a tool called the Retention Center, which is built into our learning management system. It will flag students that either are not progressing at a rate in which they need to be, or if their grades have fallen below passing. So it will flag those, and we can use staff to reach out to those students and parents as needed to do that. And then as Carrie mentioned earlier, we use an online proctoring service called Proctorio. It is recorded proctoring, so the student will take an exam with a camera, their webcam, and it will record them. The only people that have access to that recording are the teachers assigned to that course and about a handful of administrators within my office. So it is not seen by anybody else but our folks. That was a big deal for us because we were dealing with minors. And before we had Proctorio, our parents would have to go out and find a proctor to help to proctor their exams. And so, you know, it's calling the local library, local school district, finding somebody to proctor it, mailing back and forth tests and answer sheets and all that. So when we went to Proctorio, it allows students to now test as soon as they are ready to test. And so it's automatic. Parents have loved it because they don't have to go out and find a proctor. And the student can do it from like their home as soon as the student is ready. If you look nationwide, proctoring, of course, became a big thing for the pandemic in higher education. Many higher ed students really kind of pushed back on proctoring, and that I think we've had 2 complaints in the last 2 years about proctoring when we started, because it allows our students to go at their pace. And so if they're ready to test at 2 o'clock in the morning, they can test at 2 o'clock in the morning. So it really kind of helps them move through the classes at an appropriate pace. And then we delete out all of the recordings are deleted out a year after they are done, and that gives us enough time to make grade challenges or things like that to work through.
I think that's the one that you were.
Yeah, so this is the one I wanted us to be sure we got to before break. Thanks to Dr. Leach and others for putting this together. As we said, completion is our key key metric now that we have to make sure our students complete our classes. From the 1920 school year, we had a completion rate of about 78.4%. Right now, between 20 and 21, we're at about a 80% completion rate, so very high completion rates for our students. And 98% of our students pass. It comes down to 4 out of 5 of our students that are currently enrolled in our program will complete the program. We anticipate that this number will drop as we add more students, but we've been estimating everything, our completion numbers, our budget numbers for next year, and all of this on about a 70% completion rate. We don't think we will drop to that level, but we wanted to be cautious going into this, not knowing kind of how it's going to go. You can see from 18 to 19, we were at a 67%, and now we're at 78. That's not because the classes got any easier or that we got a whole different population of students. It goes back to all of the things that Dr. Leach was talking about. We had a complete curriculum kind of refresh September 1, 2019. We launched all new courses with all new policies. And so that's the result of that. Before 2019, grades were done a little differently. Now it's 50% on assignments, 50% on final exams. And we've made lots of changes there. So directly benefited our kids and their completion rate.
Prior to that, it was 100% final exam. And that was rough on kids.
So yeah, that was the first big curriculum change we made, and that launched September 1, 2019. So now this year, basically September 1, 2021, we launched our free tuition. Our ACT, SAT scores on average are always higher than both state averages and national averages. Our student end of course and STAR scores tend to be above state averages as well. A couple of weeks ago, or 2 weeks ago, I guess, the Texas Tribune and others did a report about STAR exam testing and how students through the pandemic that did complete virtual programs did not do well on STAR. We quickly put a release out to let people know with our students in that same time period, we had about 100% pass rate on STAR in the course, so 100% mastery on it. So again, kind of back to what we've said all along, is that a virtual program that has been developed as a virtual program, students do not, not do as well on these exams, and in virtual programs that maybe not follow the pedagogy or that have a little bit of a struggle.
Yes, I sit here and listen, and I'm wondering how the virtual charter schools that have been through the state board will actually work with our program. I'm trying to say something, you have these virtual charters out there that have their rules, and then Texas Tech and UT have our rules.
Braxton actually came to us from K-12. So he has a great deal of experience in the virtual charter.
Virtual charter.
Obviously there's a lot of differences. I think one of the prime differences just from my transition is going from a synchronous online program to a asynchronous program. And that alone has just been a pretty big difference in what we see with our students. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with synchronous instruction, but it does get a little bit more nuanced and start looking at that. What the students do and their success, the fact that they have to complete work at a certain time, they have to log into class at a certain time. Ultimately, with our students, they're going to get all the curriculum that they need, because when they start in the course, they're not coming in. It's October 28th, miss the first 10 weeks of school or something like that. So
their funding was based on a daily attendance model. whereas ours is not. So it is very different rules.
We almost have differences.
And how well we were showing our, so young, so we were showing our teachers. So for example, I would be teaching, I had a computer open, I would have 20 kids over here, I had 5 at the house, synchronous,
Yeah.
and then I would have 4 that were asynchronous. So you see what I was trying to do.
Yeah.
And like you said, if we set it up.
It's amazing what you did.
Yes, it is.
It's just,
It is amazing.
Yeah, and it's amazing what they do.
And that's all.
Too.
I try to help parents understand that. Like, I have no idea like what they put together and that it's even an option.
Trying to do
Like,
3 types of
Yes,
modalities, face to face,
Yes.
synchronous, and asynchronous.
yes.
Try to keep- Just figure it
Yeah.
out.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm amazed at what y'all do.
I'm amazed what the state's expecting all of us.
Well, we are too now.
Still,
Yeah, so we're cautious with our completion numbers, and as Lisa said, we're gonna have to have new staff, that will help. We're hiring an attendance clerk that will work with Natasha on that to make sure, not only are our students progressing, are our teachers grading, quickly enough that allows our students to continue moving forward. So if our teachers are sitting on assignments for a week, that's going to really impact our kids. So really kind of working on both of those things. We also anticipate hiring a couple of part-time folks that will serve as kind of remediation or tutors within our program to help. We want them, just like in the traditional district, if the student starts with us, we want them to be successful, and we want to make sure that they get what they need out of the program. So it's going to be a experience here. The next couple of slides kind of talk about our international program, which we have spent time discussing. But what I like to show this slide, all of the red countries are countries that we have had students since 1993, so 71 different countries all over the world. As we said at the beginning, we're adding some new partnerships, and really, if we look down in South America, we have students in like Argentina with a program there, and we have a partner down there that also has partnerships in Colombia and Chile. We just haven't had students kind of start yet, but very, very happy with the growth. And then 3 years ago, when Texas Tech opened up, Texas Tech Costa Rica, we were able to partner down there as well. So we have not only the university has a campus there, but we have a partnership with students in Costa Rica.
and we have students in a lot of other countries who are not in an official partnership
Yeah.
situation. They're just taking courses just like any other student would. So we do serve military families or missionary families or just, whatever reason those students come.
As we said, 2019, we did a complete change with our grading policies. All of our courses, we got rid of any of the correspondence-based or print-based courses the start of 2020.
It used to be that our primary program was print-based. Parents would get a big notebook for reading, a big notebook for math, and just work through all the pages of the notebook. So no more.
Everything online. So it also allows our parents. One thing that we saw an increase throughout the pandemic is we got pictures and stories from families who were able to do their TTU K-12 program while they were camping. So we had hiking in Grand Canyon and other places. And so that's one thing that we really like about it is that because it is asynchronous and to an extent at your own pace, it allows our students and families to get outside and really do some neat things when they're working through different classes. So a couple other changes that we have made over the last couple of years is we added AP classes 2 years ago. Is that right here?
Yes.
We added AP classes about 2 years ago. We've increased the number of CTE or career and technical education classes we offer, and fleshed out and added to the endorsement areas for the Texas high school diploma. And so added all those types of things. We have added full-time teachers and part-time teachers so that we have kind of department chairs within the different areas. And of course, all of the data analysis and reporting that we are now doing. So a lot of change within the last couple of years. One is, as Dr. Hart was mentioning, to get the program based on appropriate online pedagogy and really best practices of online learning. So we did a lot of work there. It's to Carrie and the teachers, Lisa and the instructional designers and Carrie and the supplemental team for all of the work that they have done to really do almost a complete 180 within the program, changing everything. Every single course has been modified and touched in the last 2 years. So with that, we are right at noon, and the next bit is the advisory board functions. And so what we will do is we will now break. I'm going to say until 12:45, but that is only if the lunch is actually ready. So we may need to say we'll break till 1 and then do the last little bit within that last hour or so. So we will we'll break until 1 and then get started then. So thank you all. Sid, we are break till 1. So if you want to come back, please do so.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
It's not
Good. Sid, hey Sid, can you hear us?
Yes, I sure can.
We just want to make sure you're alive.
We're doing fun Santa Fe things.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. There we go.
We want to do it here. Yeah. So we're trying to take a picture just with our phone.
Just a second, I gotta switch now.
We hope not.
Oh, my God.
But this one would have gone.
Okay, so this particular person, like, this is a first grade student wanting to skip seconds.
Sorry, I'm making you sick, Sid. I figured out how to change the view of the camera.
Okay, great.
Okay. There.
It's hard when you're in a.
So you're 81?
I'm actually 80, but that class 29.
Okay, cool.
Got it?
Yeah, I figured out how to change the view on the camera, so. Okay, I think we'll start back. Our marketing folks would like a group picture, so I don't know how we're gonna do that, but we'll figure that one out. And who's taking the picture?
I'll take the picture.
Okay, Candace will take it.
You need
Okay.
to blow Sid up on the screen.
So,
We'll stand in front of her.
Yeah.
What's up there?
Yeah.
Stand behind the Sid.
We'll make faces at y'all.
All of us are.
fine.
Take me and Doyle up front, right?
Yeah.
That's right. 'Cause I'm
You
tall.
tell me.
Oh, just a moment.
It's what I see.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to banish you.
I heard all, so I just went up there.
His feelings are hurt.
No, they're not. I actually would prefer not to be in pictures. That's my preference.
Okay. All right. We will come back, and the last couple of things on the agenda. We want to kind of walk through the role of the advisory board and what you have to do, some of the legal requirements that we now have. And then we do have a couple of action items that we need you to review and approve for us. So we will start with the kind of advisory board. Sid, can you see that? Is it coming through again?
Yes, it sure is. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay. So we, so the advisory board, as we've talked, it was part of 61.01 or 1.01, which was the establishment of an advisory board by the State Board of Education and TEA.
And that's at the end of your packet.
And it's at the end of your packet. The last 3 pages, it's attachment. It's the attachment, and that will actually walk you through subchapter B, which is special purpose districts and everything that we have to do. We've always had policies, but now we of course have to have some that are codified within board meeting minutes and things like that. So the advisory board is tasked with overseeing or approving our absence and truancy policy, our code of conduct, our grievance policy. And then we do not have to have a student health advisory committee, but we have to still do some of the same things that a check, right? Yeah, student health would do, which those of you that may not be familiar, that is the group that, among other things, picks the school's sex ed policy and other things like that. Again, kind of a debate that we had with the state board on how do we have a school health advisory committee for a statewide program. And so the
So they
advisory
decided
board,
that you all could be it.
the advisory board gets to have that role as well.
Yeah.
And then a couple of things for our advisory board is to also kind of agree or bless our school caps, the lottery process, and then when and if we are asked about, we've got information on our both special populations and socioeconomic groups of students, disadvantaged student populations. So those are the kind of the big things for the advisory board. You are not serving as a true school board, so some of the same school board trainings that school boards have to do, we don't have to do with you. Although at future meetings, we will probably have a discussion of the TTU K-12 budget, that is not something that this group will have to vote on, approve, or anything like that. It's you are serving in advisory capacity. Dr. Leach, Gary, if I'm missing anything.
Don't think so. We do have to submit your names to the SBOE for approval. We don't think that's.
And-
Really care, but
And we have done that. We've sent a letter to the State Board of Commissioner with all of your names and your bios and who you are representing. So we think okay there. We had to have a minimum of 5 folks and a maximum of 7. We started with 5, and if they want us to add 2, we will do that. Real fast, just here at the, and then we'll get into the voting items. TTU K-12 has always been approved by Texas Education Agency and the State Board of Education, which has served us well since 1993. But we are also going for a third-party accreditation that will help us with students outside of Texas and our international students. And that is a group called Cognia, and they accredit schools across the world. They used to be known as SACS, CASI, or Advanced Ed, and now Cognia. So it is something, just a third-party accreditation that we feel will help us as we work on recruiting students outside of Texas, and that has come up a couple of times where students in another state, their school district, if they transfer in one of our classes, their district doesn't necessarily recognize CEA, so they're wanting something else, and so that's kind of why we decided to go for Cognia. So with that, I will turn it over to I'll ask Lisa and Carrie to kind of start with, I guess we're up to item 6, right? I'm gonna close the door.
so there are some specific policies that you are asked to review and to vote on to approve. So the first that's in your packet is the student code of conduct. And it's probably a lot smaller than the code of conduct that you all are used to, because mostly we removed a lot of things that don't apply to an online school. But there are some things that, of course, needed to be kept in there. We are very, very careful. It's one of the things I don't think we mentioned earlier. We're very careful to make sure that all of our interaction among students is within our systems, so that there is no outside interaction that could lead to cyberbullying or, all sorts of things that it could do. So messaging between teachers and students, that all happens within our system. It doesn't happen through external email. Texting, it all has to happen within our system so that it's captured appropriately. And then the Blackboard Collaborate Alpha sessions that we use for synchronous meetings, all of that is video, all of that is recorded, because that protection of students from any outside influence, including other students, is really important. So a lot of that is in the code of conduct. Probably it's best just to give you a little bit more time to look through it and ask us any questions that you might have.
We did include it in the email that we sent out late last week. And for future meetings, we'll be sure to send out the materials to you more than just a couple of days in advance. But our first open meeting, working through the requirements, the regulations, and what we have to do there. We were toward the end of the requirements on getting this material out to you.
And these have been reviewed by our in-house Texas Town Council. And so he's looked through them. He's given us his.
Is this the testing model? It is, isn't it? That you pulled it from?
For the code of conduct, it is kind of pulled from a few different sources, but mostly it's eliminating things.
That's not.
Most code of conducts that I've pulled up from different districts and different sources are fairly similar. They may have some nuanced differences, but they definitely have lots of similarities. Every now and then we have a cheating.
Yeah, cheating and plagiarism are our biggest issues.
Had a couple of instances of kids using bad language, or parents using bad language.
Yeah, usually it's the parents. Yeah, sometimes inappropriate content is posted that we will talk to students about, but that's really the extent of it. So my general answer is no. Those are very minor things in comparison to what a traditional school would face.
We have no halls. So they
We have
cannot
no
get in fights
halls,
in the halls.
exactly. We don't. They aren't, so they have to be at the another placement, or do they just come in?
It's a really good question, and I really don't figure it out.
We've never, we've never had to withdraw. We have had in our policies in the past that we can administratively withdraw a student from their courses without a refund because they paid. And I've never had to do that. I've never, usually for the couple of instances that we have had when we have those discussions with parents, they're pretty supportive of whatever the problem is, and we're able to come to, and we're able to resolve it. So with hope, I keep telling Lisa every time these little things come up, I'm like, I don't think we're gonna have to worry about that. So I need to knock on wood and quit saying that, but I don't think we're gonna have to worry about expulsion. At least I hope not.
But now, we have been the recipient of students that have been expelled. It's just, they have come, not many.
I think, yeah, that is a question we get from schools sometimes, is they can enroll here with and avoid their disciplinary placement in an alternative setting with their district. So that sometimes districts like that, sometimes they don't. We don't have an alternative placement to put them in if they enroll with us. During that period. True. There we go. That way it would.
We're being recorded. Sorry.
Now, if, just for Robert's rules and all of that, we don't technically have a chair of the advisory board. I have convened the group, but I am non-voting. So it is up to the 5 voting members of the advisory board to make a motion and vote on approval if you so desire.
Make a motion that we approve the COC as written for the 21-22 school year.
That's it.
Who was that? Margaret, second. All right, so then for the 5 members, because we are doing this via Zoom and for open meetings, I do need you to vote either by saying aye or physically raising your hand. So all those in favor of approving the code of conduct as written, please either signify by saying aye or raising your hand, because we do need Okay. All right, so that passes with all 5 of our advisory board members voting for it. Thank you for that. Dr. Leach, the next item is?
Approving our policies. This is just our general policies.
Which it's not numbered, but it starts with TTU attendance requirement and truancy provision, correct? Right after the last page of the code of conduct.
Page 16 is what we have on the contracts, but they're not. It looks like this.
So are we gonna, let me just ask, we're gonna make a motion?
Yes, sir.
We're going through all of them. It's not gonna be piece by piece. By piece.
Correct. First,
Yeah,
the
yes.
policies need a motion, and then we come to specifically a grievance.
And you
Grievance policy that is Cassie's policy, and then attendance and truancy is
after that.
attendance and truancy. It follows our general policies. It's just a 3-pager.
Okay.
In general policies, attendance and truancy, grievance.
So all, but we will do them as
Separately?
we will do all the policies as one,
Okay.
then we will do the truancy as one and the grievance as one, just so there are 4. So end up being 4 separate votes. 4 separate votes. Grievance policy, attendance policy, the general TTU K-12 policies, and the student code of conduct. So 4 separate votes.
I guess the first is the general policies.
Yes.
All the stuff is based on.
Mhm.
I'll make a motion to accept the general policies.
Okay.
Just go ahead.
Motion for general policies.
Second that.
Second. Okay. So we have a motion and a second to approve the policies. All those in favor of approving them, please signify by either saying aye or raising your hand. Okay. Don't say opposed because that's unanimous. So thank you for that. We will then move to the attendance and truancy policy, which is also in blue, and it says at the top, TTU K-12 attendance and truancy policy, or truancy prevention, excuse me. And Dr. Leach, do you need how do you want to discuss this one?
The attendance and truancy, we are defining attendance by progress in the courses. And so if we find a student is not making progress, then that student will be in basically attendance violation. And we just will work with that student to do everything we can to encourage that. That's basically your attendance. And we've got that 5% of all assignments per week. As a benchmark. It's not a hard and fast rule. We're not going to say you only have 4% of your assignments this week, but it's a benchmark to make sure that they're making the progress they need in a timely manner.
The key is there, the funding is based upon completion, not correct. EDA.
And successful completion,
Right.
not just complete successful.
Yeah, they have to actually pass for us to get funding, which we don't like, but.
So that wasn't quite fair, because we don't get funded whether the students pass or not, so. and we don't, so.
The hope is,
Inflation. That's what's-
the hope is if the virtual ed bill is taken up during a special session, it includes a provision that would be funded based on partial completion. So we would then go to basically 6 weeks. But they completed a third of a semester course, a half of a semester course, or all of a semester course, and funding would be based on that. Like I said, that we had significant traction and it passed both houses, the Texas House and Senate, and went through a conference committee, but the conference committee report and voting was scheduled after the voting rights bill, and so that's where it died.
I have a question on the informal administrative process. I see Carrie, Natasha, I see Braxton listed.
He doesn't have to take grievances, I guess.
Smart me.
So Braxton currently works with our international partnerships, and then Natasha works with our stateside students. So he takes our grievances from any kind of grievances that we get from our international partnerships.
And then we just use me.
What?
How we language.
We
Well, you know.
haven't taken it under Brazil yet because there's a pandemic, but as soon as we can.
I've got to be part of it. What's to do about it? And we learned how to do it.
Basically, all these are based upon FNG local.
Mhm.
I mean, everything, and you make reference to that.
Yeah, Dr. Leach did a great job and Carrie pulling these together. Again, things that we sort of had, but you know, didn't codify them within policy. It was more practice based. So it's been a good process for us.
And you have a grievance form that's in here.
Yeah, I was actually gonna talk to you about that. There is a form, and we need to probably clarify that form. I don't have the form.
Okay, it's supposed to be linked. I
Okay,
haven't checked to make sure that it is.
okay,
I will make sure.
perfect. Yes. And I think that form actually just goes into the system. It doesn't like come to my email and then I process it. It's fine. And it just,
They want to call them, that they know. The president, yes. Because she just
always
always
go
goes
straight to the president.
That's who most people go straight to.
Yes, exactly.
That's because it's not.
That's what they go to.
Oh, yeah. Straight to the superintendent.
Superintendent, and she'll go fix it.
Yeah, he tells Melanie and then Melanie tells me.
That's right. That's where it goes down. It just kind of rolls.
Or yes, that's exactly right. So if you have been able to review that, I'll ask if there is a motion to approve. I believe it's the truancy and the attendance and truancy and the grievance, because we've already talked about that. We can do them both as one motion. We can kind of look at them all as one.
I'll move that we approve the 21-22 attendance requirements and truancy prevention along with FNG local.
Second.
Between
Sorry.
the two.
Okay.
I got ahead.
No, you're good. We got you.
I don't care, first or second. What do you want to be?
Sid, you there?
Yes, I'll second.
Sid will second. Okay, so we have a motion and a second for the attendance requirements and truancy provision and then local policy on global grievance policy. And so all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. So, are you raising your hand? I can't see you at the moment.
Yes, sorry, yes.
It's my computer, it's not you. Okay. So that one is passed, and is there another F and G?
There's an FNG legal and local, but they're,
Oh, the same.
Well, legal is law.
yeah, you don't have to vote
Local
legal.
is.
So those were our main action items for our first meeting. The next again is kind of housekeeping. Internally, we had discussed having this as a quarterly meeting. We don't want to take a whole lot of time away from regular jobs or retirement time with families and things like that. So we anticipate meeting no more than quarterly. And as I said, we hope to do the next ones. We will do this again. We'll have an in-person and a virtual option for anyone that is unable to come in person. This will quarterly work for the 5 members. And then, as I said in my email, we can provide mileage reimbursement. And so after the meeting, Candace will email out, I think there are some forms for that. And so that would be mileage reimbursement from your home to the Texas Tech Club and back. So if you drive all over Lubbock, you can't claim that. But we can do mileage reimbursement for that.
Do you have dates in mind?
That's what I was thinking.
We have dates in- Well, yeah, I don't think we did.
We will
I don't
send
think
you
we had
those.
that far.
We will work.
Just send them.
Yeah, we will work on that. What we'll probably do is I'll ask Candace to do, we'll find some quarterly dates and I'll ask Candace to do a doodle poll and we'll see what works best for calendars and then set it that way. But this is what, July, so the next one would be probably November, right? Yeah. So probably off cycle from like other meetings and things that may wait in August and December. But so more than likely sometime in November, taking into account Thanksgiving and all of that. So
And probably it won't take as
No.
much time during.
No.
during the day, So it won't be as much of a chunk of your time.
yeah, we anticipate the next ones we should be able to do within probably a lunch hour or a long lunch hour. So that we will provide lunch because I'm guilty of it. I gotta make sure, I gotta make sure we're just as good as
Right over there, right over there by Wendy's or whatever.
So we'll do that. So it is about 1:30 and we have come to the end of our agenda items. But I would like to open it up to the group here, both our voting members and our guests. If there's anything that we have talked about, if you've got questions about any information we can provide, anything like that.
We have a lot of work to do.
Yeah,
It-
I appreciate sorry, I'm so sorry to interrupt. I appreciate the information so much. It's just really fascinating. I'd kind of heard a couple of the bits previously about the school you had, the K-12 there, but it's been really interesting to learn more. So thank you for the thought.
Thank you. That was, Dr. Leach wanted to do a full overview. I can't forget people don't know about us. And so that's good to do that. Anything else?
Let me just say to Sid that so far we have had such great help from the service center staff. So going into this, it makes me a lot less anxious, knowing that we've got the service center staff to hold our hands. So we really appreciate that.
Well, I'm so grateful to hear that. And my wheels are turning on the accountability piece. I want to make sure we get you in good spot there. So we'll be a good team.
Yes, absolutely. Christine Vera has been phenomenal.
Yeah,
The
she's a
accountability
good one.
works.
She's a good one.
So, okay. Well, I thank you all for spending your Monday with us. Those of you from out of town, I thank you for coming in. Sid, thank you for giving up a day of your vacation for this.
She didn't even get.
And she didn't get lunch.
Well, we do have a gift for you, so we'll get it to you though. So,
Oh, thanks.
And so, thank you all for being here, and we will stand adjourned.
Thank you, Jesse. Have a great day.
Yes.
Y'all too.
Good luck starting the school year, the traditional school
The
year.
traditional school year, hopefully, pray.
Oh, man, please don't.
Thank you,
no,
Sid.
Don't even.
Bye, thank you. See you later.